Welcome everyone, dear listeners, to our 21st episode of our Ellie Talks podcast. Today, again, a very esteemed guest who will talk about sustainability in weaving. Mr. Johan Verstraete, very welcome today. You are Vice President of Weaving Machines at Picanol. Very happy to have you here on our show today to talk about our main topic, to inspire, inform and connect people on the topic of sustainability. Johan, we always start with a little bit of an introduction. Can you please maybe introduce yourself and explain a little bit what drives you?
Well, the traditional CV lines. So I started studying engineering, but after a few years I already decided this was not really my thing and went into an economical direction, after which I have been professionally active in a sourcing position. After which I moved on to sales, what was always my dream to get into sales. I started in 1998 in the foundry division of Picanol, where I was also in sales, and then gradually started taking on more managerial responsibility. And after so many years, I'm here. And I have a phone, but...
You have to sell a weaving machine today.
Don't worry. No caller ID. Usually these are not important.
It's someone who has to sell something, I know.
Let me switch it off completely.
Okay, so let's go back to the topic of the introduction. So sales, and this is what is driving you, the impact that you have there in a commercial position.
Let's say that my main driver is that we are here for the next generations. So Picanol has been existing for 85 years, and we wanted to prepare for the next 85 years. So I think this is the main objective. We have to keep the long term ahead, and we have to look at the long term. And a little bit the same in let's say, the wider environment, because we are using the earth for a couple of years, and then we have to hand it over to the next generation in, let's say, at least the same or even a better shape as we received it.
Yeah, very nice. And I think generation-wise, I can concur that, this is a very important step where sustainability is a driver for why we do it. Of course, being in West Flanders, we know Picanol very well, but maybe can you explain to our audience what is Picanol doing, what are the activities, and give a short overview of the company?
Picanol Group is part of the Tessenderlo Group, and Picanol Group exists of three companies. So we have Picanol, the weaving machines, which is the most well-known. We have Picontrol, which is making man-made controllers and human man-machine interfaces. And then we have Proferro, which is active in foundry business and machining of mechanical parts. Picanol is the world leader in the weaving machines. So we have two technologies, depending on the insertion technology, rapier or hairjet. A bit difficult to explain in a podcast, but if people come by, we will be glad to explain them in detail. We are making machines to weave flat fabrics and terry fabrics, mainstream fabrics like denims. We like to say that every second denim is woven on a Picanol machine. And also very high-end applications, like, for example, the fabric of the parachute of the Mars rover. The Discovery has been woven also on a Picanol weaving machine. So we have 1,500 employees worldwide. We have two plants, one in Ypres, one in Suzhou, and we are doing 95% of our business outside of Europe. So we are living on exports.
Wow, global company, you can say. What we also like to do in the show is to zoom in a little bit on the person and your daily routine as a VP of weaving machines. Can you maybe explain how an average day, if that even exists, looks like for you?
Well, the average day, I have to say, fortunately or unfortunately, exists of a lot of meetings. So our job is to listen to people, to understand what they are doing, to guide them, to take decisions, to make sure that they want or that they know what to do in the next steps. I think this is very important, creating clarity, but also looking at the strategy. Is it on target? Are we still busy with the right things? So trying to have, let's say, the wider view also on what we are doing in everyday business. So that's the first thing I'm doing. What I also like to do, and unfortunately what has been much less over the last years, is traveling and visiting customers. Not only customers, but also customers of our competitors, because really being in the market makes you understand what the challenges of our customers are, what their needs are, what their future needs are. So I think it's very important to keep touch with the market. This is very vital. Maybe it's because I grew in sales, but it's still something I like to do a couple of weeks a year visiting customers.
I think in every position that's a very important topic, to get in touch with the market, and if you have the possibility to travel around, I totally agree with that. Maybe let's zoom into the favorite topic of Ellie, which is sustainability for the next generation. Can you talk a little bit about the history, the focus of Picanol when it comes to sustainability? Is that something that has always been there in the DNA, or is it something that grew during the past years?
Of course, the consciousness has grown over the past years, but it has always been there.
Mm-hmm.
And as our CEO used to say already before we were talking about sustainability, it's all about being fair with people, with environment, and with raw materials, so and resources. And I think this is the core of sustainability. It's being fair with your environment in the widest sense of the word. And that's also what we are trying to achieve, not only in our products, which should be environmentally friendly, but also in our way of working, in our approach with people, and our approach with our environment. Not only the natural environment, but also, let's say, our social environment. We also have a responsibility for the community of Ypres, for example. So that's a little bit how we see sustainability, let's say, in a very simplified form.
So it goes broader towards the ESG terminology, indeed, including the social, of course. Yeah. I agree. When we talked before, you mentioned 3 pillars of sustainability which are important for you. First of all, you have the processes, the products, and then the innovation. Let's start with the first one, the processes. How do you, Picanol makes a difference on that part?
Well, historically spoken, we have always been very vertically integrated. And this is, I think, very important because by being integrated vertically, you eliminate a lot of unnecessary transport, you eliminate a lot of intermediate stocks, you eliminate a lot of intermediate waste. So I think this is vital. This vertical integration also allows us to develop really a machine in a way we want to have it. So we hardly buy any standard components. We construct everything ourselves. And moreover, it allows us to start from scrap to high-tech. So we have a foundry. You really start from scrap iron. You make it into mechanical parts. You assemble these parts into a machine. You add electronics, you add controls, you add software, and so on. And at the end of the lifetime, basically, the machine returns to the foundry furnace, and you can recycle it into a new weave. A bit simplified, but we like to call ourselves a big recycling company from time to time. But of course, we also have a lot of other decarbonizing initiatives, like, for example, solar panels. We are currently installing over 6,000 square meters of solar panels. We are building a new main office, which will be energy neutral, so with geothermal energy and with heat pumps, also with own solar installation on the roof. Heat recovery in the foundry, which we have been doing for many years already. Multimodal transport of containers to the Antwerp port, which we have introduced a couple of months ago. And then smaller things like daylight controlled LED illumination. We also stimulate the use of electric cars to our own surprise, basically. We started only with this a couple of months ago, 18 months ago. We already have 60 drivers of electric vehicles. We installed 66 charging points on the parking. So we see also that the mentality of the people is moving very much towards sustainability. So, and that's what we like to see. But we see it also as part of our process. It's part of, let's say, the impact we have on the environment.
Okay, great. Then go to products, maybe. Can you maybe give some examples of your products as well? You mentioned that you could be compared to the Mercedes in manufacturing industry. Can you maybe explain what you mean by that? How do you implement sustainability in your own products?
Well, I've been the happy driver of a Mercedes for a couple of years, and a Mercedes has a couple of properties. It lives very long, so it can go on forever. Our machines live very long. After their first life, after 10 or 15 years, they move to another owner and they go on for another 10, 15 years. What as such is already, let's say, sustainable. But what is more important, when driving the Mercedes, I was always astonished also that the consumption of the car, which was quite a big car, was much lower than of smaller cars, of people in my family or in my surroundings when you discussed it between two beers, you know, the typical topics. And our machines are the same. Already in 1996, for example, we introduced the Sumo direct drive, which was reducing the consumption of the machine by about 10% compared to traditional drive systems. Since then, we have been putting this for 25 years on the market, and we made a small calculation a couple of months ago. We have been saving, through this principle, more or less the annual output of a nuclear power station, which we are closing now, or a gas power station during 1 year. So this is quite an achievement, I think, and this is reducing our carbon footprint or the carbon footprint of our customers significantly.
Wow, that's great. Even I'm impressed for a BMW or Audi driver. I can concur.
Maybe a BMW is similar. Just give it as an example.
Yes, but I understand indeed the comparison with the technology. But next to your own machinery, you also have, I think, an impact on the products of your customers, rise of new sustainable materials. I think, if I may already say so, there will be the rise of a new innovation, a new machine that actually, at the time that this podcast will air officially, will be launched at the ITMA fair as well. So for the early Ellie listeners, this definitely is an interesting scoop. Can you maybe tell us a little bit more about this machine?
Well, it was quite a challenge because we have been making the various generations of the Optimax rapier machine for more than 15 years. So over 60,000 units have been sold, which makes it more or less the most successful rapier machine ever. So it was quite a challenge to come with something better. And I guess that we have achieved that, and up to the audience to judge themselves. But we have been working on three main targets. So the first one, of course, is performance. You have to improve your performance, whatever it takes. We don't want to improve performance at every cost, but we always talk about smart performance. So we optimize the inputs, energy, raw materials, and the output, the number of meters of fabrics you are producing. Second one is sustainability. So we have always been the leader in lowest energy consumption on the machine. So for a rapier machine, we have been the leader for more than 15 years, and we still want to optimize that. So we have achieved a next step. So we are even optimizing the motor. We are even optimizing the drive system in reducing this energy consumption. But what is also very important is that the machine has been designed specifically, difficult word, with the aim to weave also recycled yarns. Recycled yarns are on the rise. We see the component of recycled fibers in yarns, and even completely recycled yarns, we see it growing. But the main disadvantage of these is that they are much more vulnerable to breakage. So that means that you must have a gentle treatment of the yarn in order to be able to weave these recycled yarns. The Ultimax, because that's the name of the new machine, is fully ready for this. And then the third pillar was, of course, digitization. So sensor data being used to optimize the settings and for an optimal ease of use, as we call it. Very important, because we see that both the number of people available to work in weaving sheds is decreasing, and even more, the number of skilled people working in weaving mills is decreasing. So we have to add tools that make it easier to run the machine, to optimize the machine, and to optimize also its performance. That's what we target with digitization.
Wow. Seems impressive. We're definitely looking forward to hearing more about this innovation. Just as a side note, the Ellie team will be present at the ITMA fair as well on the 8th and the 9th of June. So we'll definitely drop by to have a look then. If any one of our listeners is available, then please drop us a note and we can connect on the fair as well. Thank you for mentioning that, Johan. You mentioned the word innovation, technology a lot. I can imagine that for engineers, this is quite a challenging company. what is the role of innovation when it comes to sustainable transition?
Well, we have the luck to have a very experienced team, for example, on R&D. But that also means that we have to prepare the future, that we have to bring in fresh blood. So we are hiring a lot of young engineers, and we see that the mix of these two groups is bringing new answers to traditional or old problems. And it comes in a very creative way. So whereas they bring in digital twins, they bring in 3D printing, they bring in all kinds of new technologies, big data, artificial intelligence. And if we combine this with the experience of the older engineers, then we come to really magnificent solutions which are much more sustainable and much better than what we did in the past. So combining these two insights, I think, is very strong and creates a very strong basis for good products.
Wow, that's amazing, building the bridge between these different generations. And then we come back to the topic, of course, of digitization, and the importance of data in the whole sustainable transition. Can you maybe elaborate on that?
Yeah, well, we have created a customer platform, or a kind of a customer portal, as we call it, Pic-Connect. So always the pick of Picanol and the connect to connect.
Where like Ellie.Connect.
Yeah. That means that if you connect your machines to the internet, then we can gather the sensor data of the machines, and we can not only optimize the working of one machine, but we can help you to optimize the working of the complete weaving mill. And I think this is also very important. If, for example, you are running two styles on two different machines, one machine runs better than the other one, the system will pick this up, will compare the settings, and will advise you to change the settings on one machine in order to increase the performance as well. So I think this is one of these typical tools where you say, we don't have the staff anymore, we don't have the skills anymore to do so manually. So we have technology that helps us to enable these skills or these potentials for optimization. So technology is really driving more sustainability in that way, because if you increase the output of the machine, that means that you will lower the inputs, that you will have a more efficient production, so that you will be working more sustainable.
Okay, and are you also tracking then these sustainable KPIs in the plant as well, or is it mainly the use on the machine itself?
The possibility to monitor the whole system, of course, so that's of course possible, because one of the packages you can have within this system, this Pic-Connect system, is a monitoring system where you can log, let's say, the consumption per machine, where you can log the fiber consumption per machine, where you can also compare it with the output, where you can optimize, so where you can really use it as a tool to optimize your operations. Yeah.
Okay.
On the other hand, of course, also as Picanol, we have a growing need for reporting on sustainability. We have our sustainability report, but we are also doing much more efforts and will do much more efforts. Tessenderlo has been a trendsetter already in this respect, so we can learn a lot from them. So that means that in the coming years, we will definitely also have additional efforts in that direction.
Nice. So you're actually the perfect brand ambassador for Ellie as well. So we work on this triangle between collaboration, sustainability, digitalization. I think you are the perfect example of that. But of course, there's still some challenges that are hindering this triangle transition, as I might say it. Can you maybe share your viewpoint on these challenges as well?
Well, I think that it's one of the main challenges is reluctance. You could also call it a certain conservatism to use all these tools. We very often see that people think they are doing well on the basis of the knowledge they have. But the use of big data and the use of artificial intelligence interpreting and really transforming these data into useful information, or actionable information, as we like to call it, brings you into another dimension. So people will discover a lot of opportunities for improvement which they thought were not there. And I think it's also up to us to make this technology very accessible, so that you are sure that it's easy for the people to use it. If you don't make it easy for the people to use it, they will simply not use it. So we have to admit that we created a lot of features in the past which were engineered and very well thought of, but that required so many settings that if you went into the mill after 3 months, you saw that half of it was switched off. So you really have to make it as easy to use as possible. And modern technology offers us these possibilities. Look at your iPhone. In the past, it was very complex to use a video recorder, for example. Now you have a multitude of functionalities in your iPhone, and it's much easier to use.
Yeah, I agree. We always say when we try to explain something with Ellie, let's try to explain it like our audience is 5-year-olds. When reference to my daughter, of course. With all respect for the audience today, maybe just zoom into your question about the challenges of the conservatism. As you're a global company, is this something that you experience over the world with your customers, or how do you perceive regions on this topic of transition?
On the topic of transition, you see, of course, that there are different speeds. We see, however, that, for example, Asian customers, Indian customers, Pakistani customers are very tech savvy. They really want to have the latest technology, and if they can save a cubic meter of air on their airjet machine, then they will do whatever is possible to save it. So it's definitely not because maybe the sustainability idea is not that present, is that they are not pushing the machines really to the limits of what is possible. One of the big effects that you start seeing now is, of course, that the big sourcing companies, the big brands, are focusing tremendously on sustainability. So that means that the whole supply chain has to work really on sustainability initiatives to still apply for these brands. And I think they can have a huge influence on, let's say, the entry or the reality and the introduction of sustainability initiatives. Not only green deals like the European Green Deal will help it, but also if the end market, if the retail business, if the consumer finally also starts pushing for more sustainable products, then I think that this will go very fast and that this can create also a transition in other parts of the world.
Yeah. Yeah, and we already feel such kind of transition when it comes to raw materials, but it's good to know that the technology is innovating as well to make the best match for this type of customers, for the sustainable development. So that's good to hear. So as a company, yeah, we always focus on the ecosystem, the role of inspiration towards not only your direct customers, but also further ecosystem. You already talked about raw materials, etc. How do you see your role as a Picanol, as a company, to inspire broader ecosystem?
Well, our baseline is let's grow together. And we don't only see it growing together with our customers, but we also see it with all other actors in the added value chain. For example, spinning companies, we are talking with spinning machine manufacturers to see what the evolutions are there so that you can adjust or optimize also our machines in function of that. Our product managers are traveling around the globe every week to be with the customers, to detect their new needs, to see how they are using our machines, where we can improve, what the new needs are. Of course, we also have to trigger our customers from time to time. For example, Picanol is a new idea, is something which was not existing in weaving industry. So it takes some convincing power to convince the first customers to start using it and to also come with the results and to testify about the results. So that's also our duty. It's a part of customer-driven innovation, but there is also still a kind of technology-pushed innovation. And I think it's the marriage of these two where you can be most successful in the textile industry or in industry in general.
Yeah, I like that comparison indeed about the marriage of the technology push and the customer or the market-driven strategy. So do you always also use that in, the anticipation of the innovations that are coming in the market? So listening to customers, seeing what is happening. How do you work to define your future innovations, for instance?
We have the inputs coming from product management, from sales, from also other parts of the industry. We bring this all together and then we have a product strategy group, as we call it, which is giving the guidelines for the developments. Which is then broken up in smaller detailed projects and that portfolio of projects then usually results in a new product. So that's how we work. And of course, in all this, people are the biggest asset. As I already explained you, the match of younger people and experienced people, this playing together is very important. So we believe very much in the power of people. We believe very much also in the personal contact. That's why we still have these product managers visiting physically customers rather than having purely Teams meetings or so. So the COVID period has been tough for us because we like to be in mills, we like to hear the machines, we like to feel the vibrations, to be in the reality, because it's there where you really know what people are doing with your machines or with your products and where you can improve.
And maybe to zoom in into that topic of people, of the P, I think one of the big challenges in our industry is as well finding the right people and the role of the younger generation definitely in driving sustainability. Can you maybe elaborate on that topic for Picanol?
Well, it's a daily job to hire people nowadays. So maybe one of the toughest challenges we have. We always say that living in Ypres is very easy. So you go against the stream. So that means that you don't have any traffic jams when you come to Ypres because you exactly go away from the bigger city. So that's one advantage, definitely. We are also trying to attract a lot of international talents and are hosting regularly international schools and universities. Also universities from here. We are very active in campus recruitment. We are also participating in workshops for younger people to make them enthusiastic about technology. So, for example, we had a repair workshop for secondary school students a couple of weeks ago. We try to be present also at the bigger job fairs organized by universities in Belgium, also the north of France. Very important for us. We are a little bit at the border, so we have the advantage of being able to recruit also in France. And we are also open for internships and thesis students. So all ways to try to attract people to get them familiarized with our industry, because in a lot of cases, if you talk about textile machine, old-fashioned things, people talk about hand looms and so on. But if they see how many technologies, how many disciplines are integrated in a machine, then they come to the conclusion that no, this is high tech. Maybe I could do something here that makes sense. And it's simply by getting them so far and then getting them familiarized with the company, with the products, that convinces them to come.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with that. From our spinning business, they still think we have spinning wheels where people fall asleep. No, I'm just kidding. But indeed, the moment they see the machines, of course, it's a whole different story. Yeah. So that's the attraction of the technology and digital part. What about sustainability? Do you feel that young people are motivated and attracted by this new story of sustainability integration as well, and the opportunities that lie there?
More and more. And very often it even happens that people who apply for a job ask us, what do you do about sustainability? So it's not anymore how much will I earn, will I have a company car, blah, blah, blah. But people simply want to know...
An electric company
or an electric company car. But people really want to know, what is my potential contribution to the sustainability of this world? Mm-hmm. And I think this is very important. That's also why we decided to move much more in this direction and to even promote that we are moving into direction, because we want to do more than greenwashing. We really want to do what we say and to say what we do. And I think that is very important also, that's this authenticity, that people are convinced that you're not just greenwashing or window dressing, but really at the heart of your convictions, at the heart of your values, you try to be sustainable. And if you do so, then you are capable of attracting young people.
Wow.
So this is definitely a change we have seen over the last 5-6 years.
Yeah, that's great to hear, because this is also the reason raison d'être from Ellie as well, to play on this authenticity, sustainability and purpose. So we try to be a good co-pilot for companies there where we can, and drive this younger generation towards our beautiful industry, which still has a lot of opportunity, I think. Johan, I think we're almost at the end of our podcast. So having a very broad audience today, a diversified audience, I would ask you to share maybe one key takeaway for making an impact in sustainability, and maybe ending with a call to action or a question you still have for the community.
I would like to ask everyone to continuously question yourself. Am I still doing the right things? Can't I do it better? Is there no better technology available? Are there no other capabilities available? New insights? Be open. I think this is very important. And the example I gave of the two generations of engineers working together is a very nice illustration. Always be open for new ways of achieving things. And I think this is the most important lesson we have learned over the last few years. It's that in combining the experience and the new technologies or the new possibilities, that you really move forward, that you can make breakthroughs. And I think this is a very important lesson for all of us. Whatever you are doing in textile industry or in other industries or in other activities, question yourself, be open for technology, because technology will also enable us to be more sustainable in the future. Maybe I'm an eco-modernist somewhere, but I think that really being open for new technological ideas, for new technological possibilities is very important, and continuously question yourself whether you are still doing the right things in the right way.
Great, thank you. Very inspiring talk, Johan. Thank you for that. Definitely, I would stress as well, building bridges, be open to see the connection between generations, I think is an important takeaway I have taken away from this podcast as well. Thank you for that. We hope we can continue to inspire you as well with Ellie. To all of our listeners today, I would invite you, if you want to hear more about what Picanol is doing and of course the launch very soon, keep following. We will communicate about it on our LinkedIn pages and of course our platform itself as well. Keep on connecting with the partners on Ellie.Connect.com, maybe as well with Johan, and keep on investing in technology and sustainability, and let's continue doing great things together. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much, and everyone is welcome at our booth B201 in ITMA Milan. So we have Belgian beers, so everybody's welcome.
Perfect invitation. Thank you, Johan. Have a nice day.
Thank
Bye.
you.